when you're dealing with the police, there's several situations that you can classify them under. And the first one, and the one the police department likes the most, is the consensual situation. And that means you're agreeing to it.
Consensual means what it says. It means that the interaction between the person on the street and the police officer is entirely voluntary on the part of the person.
No, I don't consent to any conversation with an undercover cop.
I don't want to talk to you.
Understand if you're getting close,
I'm not. I don't consent to you talking to me.
Carry
on.
In a consensual stop, a police officer walks up to you and says, "Hey, how you doing? How's it going? So, do you live around here?"
A lot of times they'll ask innocuous questions and then get down to what they really want to ask.
Did you know that this is kind of a drug area? Did you know that people actually are dealing a lot of drugs around here that is known for that? Is that right? Interesting. Can I see your ID?
Okay, can I see your ID then?
You have some identification?
You got licenses?
What we want to be careful of in a consensual stop is that she could at any time say, "Am I free to go? Am I being detained?"
If they don't have a reason, if they say there's no reason for them to stop you, you're free to go. I advise you to go, because that's your right. And a lot of times the police use these consensual stops to try to trap you into some kind of admission of criminal behavior.
A police officer can ask to speak to anybody. I mean, that's within the law. They have a right to do it, but you don't have to respond.
Drug dealers too.
I don't consent to this conversation, officer.
Police often will go to great lengths to hide the fact that they don't have a lawful basis for ordering you to stop.
Asserting your rights, it's almost like turning on a switch. You have to assert your rights. Your silence is basically consent. You've seen the bumper stickers, right? Silence is consent. Especially true when you're accosted by a police officer.
Because you got to understand, when a cop comes up to you and asks you questions, you're voluntarily participating in their investigation. You know, that's why there's no reason for you to answer those questions.
If you don't agree to the stop, you need to say something. If the cops don't let you go at that point, you're being detained.
The officer has to have a reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime has been or is about to occur, and that there is something linking you to that.
Can't be just, well, we heard some guy like you was walking around here doing stuff that was suspicious. It's got to be substantive. So you should ask the police officer, why am I being detained?
There's no loitering at liquor stores.
What's that? Well, I ain't got no traffic violation. Man, don't hurt my arm.
Say, officer, what penal code section has been violated? What, free mind. And then go like this. Well, let's go get up together.
If you're being detained by a police officer, you don't have to answer the questions of the police officer. The officer asks for your ID. You should give them ID if you have it, but you don't have to answer any more questions.
Where are you staying here? That's not important. I'm staying with friends.
Hang on just a second for me, alright?
Do you guys want this filmed?
Yeah.
Alright.
Stay back. Step back.
Never consent to a search, never consent to any search at all. And understand what consenting to a search may mean. For instance,
in a detention, there's going to be a pat search for officer safety reasons. What that means is that if an officer has to spend time discussing with you and investigating you, that the court and law feels that it's okay for them to do a search of the exterior of your clothing.
But that's supposed to be an outside the clothes general search that's supposed to allow the officer to know that you're not carrying a weapon. He's not supposed to put his hands in your pockets. He's not supposed to put his hands in your backpack. If that happens, don't resist physically, but repeat again that you're not agreeing to this search. Now, they can handcuff you and hold you for a period of time during a detention, because that's supposed to give the officers an opportunity to do a mini investigation to see if they can substantiate the reasonable suspicion. It's not supposed to be an opportunity for them to search you or harass you or find out who all your relatives are and where they live. If they try that, the best thing to do is to stop talking.
A lot of times an officer will stop an individual, and what's important for us all to know is that we don't have to give our consent to a search.
I don't got any weapons. I don't know you.
The officer's job is to try to gather as much evidence as he or she possibly can to use against you.
I'm not giving you permission to be doing this to me. You understand?
Excuse me, could you tell me why you're searching this?
Please, thank you. Thank you.
Oftentimes, their best source of evidence is us. And if we just learn to remain silent and just only give officers the information that they have to have, I think we'll all fare better.
Sir. Hello.
He doesn't. You have a right not to answer that question. You have the right to remain silent.
You may not be moved from the general area where you are as part of a detention. If you're placed in a police car and driven to a police station, you're in custody. You are not being detained. That has become an arrest.
And if you are unfortunate enough to be arrested, never speak to the police after you've been arrested. There's only one thing you need to say in an arrest situation, and that's, I have the right to remain silent, and I'd like to speak to an attorney as soon as possible. Don't give any other information away with the police. You're not going to be able to talk yourself out of arrest. You might have been able to do it during the detention, which is questionable in my opinion, but once you're arrested, your best bet is to rely on your constitutional protections.